Imagine this. You wake up one morning and everything in your life is fine. Not great, not terrible, just fine. You go through the motions, you smile at coworkers, nod along to conversations, scroll through motivational quotes that tell you good vibes only. And positivity attracts success. You repeat affirmations in the mirror, willing yourself to believe them. But beneath the surface, something gnaws at you. A quiet, persistent voice whispers, "This isn't working." You ignore it. You've been told negativity is poison, that doubt is self-sabotage. So you push harder. You plaster on another smile. You tell yourself, if I just think positively enough, reality will bend to my will. And yet, nothing changes. The promotions don't come. The relationships don't deepen. The emptiness doesn't fade. If anything, it grows. Because now, on top of everything else, you feel guilty for not being happy. You wonder, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just be positive like everyone else? This is the paradox no one talks about. The darker you try to avoid, the more power it holds over you. What if the relentless pursuit of positivity isn't the solution, but the problem? What if the modern obsession with good vibes only is just another form of avoidance, a spiritual bypassing of the real work required to grow? Think about it. When was the last time you allowed yourself to truly feel anger, grief, or doubt without immediately slapping a positive spin on it? When was the last time you questioned whether the cult of optimism is just a societal pressure tactic, keeping you docile, distracted, and addicted to quick fixes? Consider this uncomfortable truth. The more you deny your shadows, the more they control you. Carl Jung called this the shadow self, the repressed, unacknowledged parts of your psyche that fester in darkness. Nietzsche warned of the dangers of toxic positivity long before the term existed, writing, "Whoever fights monsters should see to it that he does not become a monster." And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss gazes also into you. What happens when an entire generation is taught to never gaze into the abyss? The illusion of control. Positive thinking sells itself as empowerment. Change your thoughts, change your life. But beneath the surface, it often becomes a subtle form of self-deception, a way to maintain the illusion of control in a chaotic world. Because here's the brutal reality. You cannot affirm your way out of suffering. No amount of forced gratitude will erase systemic injustice. No mantra will cure existential dread. No vision board will shield you from loss, failure, or the inevitability of death. And yet, we keep trying. Why? Because it's easier to chant, "I am abundant," than to stare into the void and ask, what if I'm not? What if life has no inherent meaning? What if success never comes? But what if, just what if, true strength isn't found in denying these questions but in facing them? This is where the real discomfort begins. Because if positivity isn't the answer, then what is? Is there a way to engage with darkness without being consumed by it? Can we acknowledge pain without drowning in it? And most importantly, what are we really avoiding when we refuse to look at the parts of ourselves and the world that aren't positive? The answer lies not in light, but in the balance between light and shadow. And that is where we must go next. Somewhere along the way, positivity stopped being an attitude and became an ideology, a dogma. It didn't happen overnight. The roots run deep, tangled in the soil of capitalism, religion, and the human hunger for control. In the early 20th century, the New Thought movement preached that mind over matter could cure disease, summon wealth, and bend reality. By the 1980s, self-help gurus repackaged this idea into bite-sized mantras. Fake it till you make it. Your thoughts create your reality. Today, it's distilled into Instagram infographics and corporate wellness seminars, where employees are told burnout isn't from exploitation, but from not manifesting balance. But here's what no one admits. This isn't empowerment. It's spiritual bypassing, and it's making us sicker. Let's look into the psychology of avoidance. Why do we cling to positivity like a life raft in a storm? Because the alternative is terrifying. Jean-Paul Sartre called it bad faith, the lies we tell ourselves to avoid the unbearable weight of freedom. If we admit that suffering is inevitable, that failure is possible, that death is certain, then we must face the truth. We are not in control, and the human mind would rather believe a comforting lie than a destabilizing truth. This is why toxic positivity thrives. It's a defense mechanism, a way to numb the existential dread that comes with being alive. Carl Jung saw this clearly. I'd rather be whole than good. Yet our culture demands the opposite. We're taught to amputate our negative emotions, grief, anger, doubt, as if they're defects rather than vital signals. But what happens when you silence those signals? You don't eliminate pain. You just force it underground, where it mutates into chronic anxiety, into unexplained rage, into a quiet, gnawing sense that something is wrong with you because you can't just be happy. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming. He watched 19th century Europe cling to religion and morality as shields against chaos. And he warned, whoever destroys an illusion within himself increases his own suffering. But he also knew that truth, no matter how painful, is the only path to strength. Modern positivity culture is no different than the religious dogma Nietzsche criticized. Both promise salvation through denial. Both punish doubters. Both demand, don't look at the darkness, just believe harder. But Nietzsche's solution wasn't despair. It was amor fati, love of fate. Not good vibes only, but this is life. All of it, the joy and the suffering, and I will meet it with clear eyes. There's another force at work here, money. Positivity sells. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, books, seminars, apps, coaches, all promising that if you just think the right way, you'll unlock success. But ask yourself, who benefits when people believe their suffering is their own fault? When a worker is exhausted, they're told to practice gratitude, not question unfair wages. When a woman is gaslit, she's told to rise above negativity, not confront systemic misogyny. When a generation drowns in debt, they're told to manifest abundance, not revolt against exploitation. This is the sinister underbelly of forced positivity. It keeps people passive. It turns systemic issues into personal failures. It pathologizes normal human emotions. It makes not being happy a moral failing. And the more we buy into it, the more we ignore the real causes of our pain. But what about those who suffered profoundly and still found meaning? Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote, "Man's search for meaning in the ashes of Auschwitz." He didn't preach positivity. He preached truth. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. Frankl's insight wasn't that suffering is good, but that even in hell we retain the freedom to choose our attitude. This is the critical distinction. Toxic positivity says, never feel bad. Frankl said, you will feel bad. Now, what will you do with it? One is a denial of reality. The other is a transcendence of it. So here we stand, at a crossroads. Do we keep swallowing the lie that happiness is just a mindset away? Or do we dare to ask, what if the only way out is through? The answer isn't despair. It's something far more radical. Integration. Not the suppression of darkness, but the courage to face it. And that is where the real transformation begins. Let's dive into the emotional debt crisis. You cannot bury an emotion alive. It will dig its way back out in uglier forms. Think of the last time you forced a smile while seething inside. What happened? Maybe you snapped at someone later over nothing. Maybe you collapsed into exhaustion, wondering why you felt so drained. This is emotional debt, the hidden cost of suppressing what you truly feel. Psychology confirms it. Unexpressed anger turns into depression. Unexamined grief metastasizes into chronic anxiety. The more you insist I'm fine, the more your nervous system rebels, through insomnia, panic attacks, or a numbness that makes joy impossible. And the cruelest twist? The very positivity meant to protect you becomes the cage. Walk into any office, scroll through any social media feed, and you'll see it. The tyranny of the performative happy face. We've weaponized positivity. Grieving? Stay strong. Exploited at work? Don't complain, be grateful you have a job. Overwhelmed? Just manifest better energy. This isn't resilience, it's emotional illiteracy. A societal refusal to acknowledge that pain is not a glitch, but a feature of the human experience. And the data is damning. A study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who suppress negative emotions experience higher long-term stress and lower life satisfaction. Psychologist Susan David's research on toxic positivity reveals that denying difficult emotions reduces emotional intelligence, making people less capable of handling adversity. We've been sold a lie that negative emotions are obstacles to overcome. But what if they're actually the path itself? How does the existential void beneath the affirmations looks like? Here's the uncomfortable truth. No amount of positive thinking can fill an existential vacuum. Modern life is a paradox. We have more comforts than any generation in history. Yet depression, addiction, and suicide rates skyrocket. Why? Because humans don't just need comfort, we need meaning. Viktor Frankl's work revealed that even in the concentration camps, those who survived longest weren't the most optimistic, but those who found purpose in suffering. Meanwhile, our culture offers a cheap substitute. Just think happy thoughts. But plastering affirmations over a hollow core is like painting over rot. The decay spreads unseen. Every suppressed emotion goes somewhere. Rage that's silenced doesn't disappear. It curdles into resentment, passive aggression, or self-sabotage. Grief that's rushed through doesn't heal. It embeds itself in the body as chronic pain or autoimmune dysfunction. Doubt that's shame doesn't vanish. It mutates into a paralyzing fear of failure. This is the shadow economy of the mind. What you refuse to process, you pay for later, with interest. And the worst part? The system profits from your denial. Big Pharma sells pills to numb the symptoms of unprocessed pain. Self-help gurus sell you another book on thinking positive when the last one failed. Corporations peddle mindfulness apps to keep you just calm enough to tolerate burnout. It's a vicious cycle. You're told to suppress your pain, then sold the cure for the damage that suppression causes. You must see that the rebellion begins in the body. Your body knows the truth. That knot in your stomach when you say, "I'm fine," but aren't. The headaches that come after a day of forced cheerfulness. The exhaustion that no amount of positive vibes can fix. These aren't malfunctions. They're rebellions. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio's research on somatic markers proves it. The body doesn't lie. It keeps score of every emotion you've ignored, every truth you've swallowed. And eventually it forces the reckoning you've been avoiding. So the way out isn't up, it's through. So where does this leave us? If positivity is a trap and suppression is a ticking time bomb, what's the alternative? The answer isn't despair. It's radical acceptance. Not good vibes only, but all vibes allowed. Not ignore the darkness, but bring a flashlight. And that flashlight, it's called awareness. The first rule of shadow work. Stop running. You've spent years, maybe decades, hiding from your own darkness. Now it's time to turn and face it. This is not about wallowing in misery or romanticizing pain. It's about courageous honesty. The kind that terrifies the part of you still clinging to the lie that positive thinking will save you. Carl Jung's prescription was simple but brutal. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So how do we do that? Step 1. The inventory of the unsaid. Grab a notebook. Write down every emotion you've been avoiding, every resentment you've swallowed, every grief you've rushed through. Ask yourself, where have I been lying to myself in the name of positivity? What pain have I been numbing with platitudes? Who taught me that some emotions are bad? This is your shadow inventory, the buried emotional debts you've been ignoring. The goal isn't to dwell in them. It's to acknowledge they exist, because what you can name, you can face. Step 2. The art of sacred rage. Society tells you anger is dangerous, but suppressed anger is far more destructive. Nietzsche wrote, The most powerful men have always been inspired by hatred. He wasn't advocating cruelty. He was exposing a truth. Anger is energy, energy that can be weaponized or harnessed. So try this. Locate your anger. Where in your body do you feel it? Chest, jaw, fists? Give it a voice. Write an unfiltered letter, then burn it. Scream into a pillow. Lift weights until your muscles shake. Ask it, what are you trying to protect me from? Anger is often grief in disguise, betrayal, injustice, the places where your boundaries were violated. Your rage is not your enemy. It's your compass. Step 3. The Stoics' Paradox. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, ruled an empire while journaling about his darkest fears. His secret, amor fati, love of fate. Not everything happens for a reason, a hollow platitude. But this is what happened. Now how will I use it? Here is your practice. When pain comes, don't say, why me? Say, what now? When failure strikes, don't affirm I am successful. Ask, what is this teaching me? When grief overwhelms, don't rush to get over it. Sit with it. Let it speak. Stoicism isn't suppression, it's alchemy, turning leaden pain into golden wisdom. Step 4. The Anti-Positivity Manifesto. Rewrite the rules. Toxic positivity says good vibes only. Radical honesty says all vibes allowed. Toxic positivity says never give up. Radical honesty says sometimes surrender is strength. Toxic positivity says everything happens for a reason. Radical honesty says some things just hurt. Now post this on a wall where you'll see it daily. Step 5. The Viktor Frankl Pivot. Frankl survived the Holocaust by finding meaning in suffering. His method? 3 questions. What can I still control? Even if it's just my attitude. What can this pain teach me? How can I use this to help others? This isn't fake positivity, it's purposeful suffering, the kind that forges resilience instead of fragility. This is where you choose. Will you keep pretending? Or will you finally meet yourself in the dark? The irony? The moment you stop running from your shadows, they lose their power. Because the truth was never that you were broken, it was that you were human. And humanity isn't found in the light or the dark, but in the courage to stand in both. Here is where the illusion collapses. You've reached the edge. All your life you were told that happiness is a destination, something to achieve through sheer force of will, through relentless optimism, through the denial of every inconvenient emotion. But now you know the truth. Happiness was never the point. Meaning is. And meaning is not found in the light alone, but in the full spectrum of human experience. You can call it the alchemy of suffering. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz. Nietzsche endured decades of physical agony. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire amid war and plague. None of them preached positivity, they preached presence. The willingness to stand in the storm and say, this too is part of life. Not with resignation, but with a quiet, unshakable defiance. Because here's the secret. No motivational speaker will tell you. Your lowest moments contain the seeds of your highest self. Grief teaches you the depth of your love. Anger reveals the boundaries you must defend. Doubt forces you to question, and thus, to truly choose your path. The darkness isn't your enemy, it's your refiner's fire. So no more BS. For years you've worn a mask. The always happy you, the never rattled you, the perfectly optimistic you. But that person was never real. And the energy required to maintain that illusion? It's been draining you dry. Now imagine, what if you set down that mask? What if you allowed yourself to be, gasp, a messy, contradictory, sometimes falling apart human? This is the paradox. Only when you stop pretending to be okay do you discover how strong you actually are. This must be your ultimate realization, and it's that you've been asking the wrong question. It's not, how can I stay positive? It's, how can I stay alive? Alive to the full, raw, unbearable beauty of existence. Alive to the love that breaks your heart open. So here's your choice. You can return to the old lies, to the affirmations that ring hollow, to the forced smiles that ache, to the exhausting charade of eternal optimism. Or you can step into a new way of being, alive to the rage that fuels your justice, alive to the sorrow that connects you to every other suffering soul on this planet. This is what the great philosophers and psychologists have been trying to tell you all along. You are not meant to transcend your humanity. You are meant to embody it, one where joy is sweeter because you've known sorrow. Peace runs deeper because you've made friends with your chaos. Love becomes fearless because you've stopped pretending you're unbreakable. This is the path of the warrior. Not the warrior who conquers others, but the one who has faced their own darkness and said, "I see you, and I am not afraid." The sun does not apologize for its light. The ocean does not apologize for its depths. And you will no longer apologize for being human. Go forth, not with a smile plastered on your face, but with the quiet, unshakable certainty of someone who has stared into the abyss and found themselves staring back.